one man who loves the rain. He did his best work for the West Coast Eagles, of course, a premiership hero there. He's played 168 games. Dom Sheed in the studio. Dom, welcome to you.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here and stay involved, mate, in footy while I can't play.
You haven't been able to play. How tough has it been over the last, not just this year, because I went back through your numbers, 1 game, 15 games, 8 games, and of course no games this year over the last 4 years. It must have been tough.
Yeah, it hasn't been a lot, mate, the last 4 or 5 years, unfortunately. We were just talking just then off air. I reckon I played 60-odd games in the last 5 years, so it hasn't been great, but it's I find other avenues to stay connected with footy and the boys, and with my rehab, it keeps me busy, mate. So, yeah, I've been enjoying this year, albeit not being able to play.
I was just going through all your accolades. Now, I want to put you under the pump straight away. What football accolade, do we share in common?
What football accolade?
So it's not a premiership, because I've won a premiership. Yeah. You've got one.
Yeah. Hase, you got me here, mate. You and I. Geez, you'd have a lot
Under
more.
Under 18s, National Carnival. You were the...
Were you the like medalist
I'm the like medalist as well. So there we have it, the two of us.
There you go.
We've got something in common, which is fantastic. But talk us through the year, mate. Of course, you're out early. How has it been going through that recovery period and watching the boys? Obviously doing it pretty tough still.
Yeah, still doing it tough, but we are still finding glimpses of the way we want to play and improvement. So that keeps you going for sure. But in terms of on my end, it's obviously very difficult when you get ruled out for the year before your year even starts. So you very quickly have to shift your mindset into what else do you want to get out of this year while you're not playing. So I've managed to enjoy my time at the club, knock off all my rehab, try a few different other little things outside of footy. I've got a young family now, 12-week-old girl, so that keeps me busy at home. So yeah, things are going well, mate. I'm enjoying it.
Are you required to go to all the training sessions, all the meetings with the boys?
Yeah, mate, absolutely, and that's what I do, and we'll continue to do that because I enjoy my time at the club. It's a good vibe. We've got a young group there, so they keep me young, and yeah, you are required to, and your schedule is still pretty full, mate, whether you're playing or not.
How do you go with those young kids, the next generation coming through? Does it take a bit to adapt to them, or is it the great part of football that they do keep you young?
Yeah, they're different, that's for sure. Like compared to when I first come in to how they are now, it's just a different era of players and young men. So it's good. We have a good time and they do keep me young, which is nice. But certainly different operators to how you and I would be, mate.
Couple of young superstars coming through. Elijah Hewitt continues to grow. Harley Reid as well. Have you played a part with those two in particular to work on some mentoring and watching some video and giving a bit of your experience back to them?
Yeah, they've got some really good coaches in Shuey and Jared Schofield. So I sort of try to stay out of it a little bit in that sense, the actual coaching side of it, because you've got, Luke Shuey, 250 games, Norm Smith medalist, same as Scoey. So they're in good hands, but I like to just check in with them and make sure, between the ears they're all right in the locker room and that, which is cool. And, they're two great young kids. It's a real credit to Huey the way he's managed to bounce back. We were in rehab.
He's a rehab buddy.
Yeah, he was my rehab buddy for a long time. I'm running out of rehab buddies actually, but I'm starting to build up a bit more by the sounds. But really proud of Huey and the way he's handled his rehab over the years, and to get a bit of reward for it, especially the last few weeks. He's looked really powerful, fast, and you'd hate to play on him, and he's grown into a nice player. So same as Harley, had another strong game on the weekend. So a lot of young kids there, eh?
What about Elliot Yeo? Is he your rehab buddy now, and how's he feeling about his comeback at some stage?
Yeah, hopefully it's not too far away. I think the bye's actually come at a good time for us, mate, because we've had, I don't know, the go with Oscar. We haven't heard yet.
We've got an update right now. Oscar Allen is out for the medium term. The West Coast Eagles co-captain won't require surgery. Scans confirm damage to his left calf and minor damage to his Achilles. So there you have it. And at the Giants, a huge blow for the Giants, with All-Australian fullback Sam Taylor out for 4 to 5 weeks with a broken toe. So just on Oscar, obviously been a pretty tough year for him with this injury aside. How's he been around the football club?
Yeah, he's been good. He obviously had a tough couple of weeks there for a period, and he probably, I think the bottom line, he probably wasn't playing the footy that he would have liked to have played, especially early in the year. So he's been working really hard on his craft, to perform well for the team, and whilst also being our captain and wanting to lead from the front in the right way. But the best way to lead is to perform on field. So that's what he's been working really hard on. But he's upbeat, he's good. It's a real shame about his injury now. So don't know how long that'll be by the sounds. I'm sure Achilles are never nice, but fingers crossed for him. And, hopefully the boys can have, a good 4-day break now, reset and get back into it.
And what about you, obviously getting back fully fit, and I think you're out of contract at the end of the season. Have you had discussions with the West Coast Eagles and what your future might look like?
Yeah, we've held off discussions. I think when I first did the ACL, it was, I don't have a return to play date this year. So there's absolutely no rush to work through a potential contract. And, the club's been really good with me in actually allowing me to just have that space to concentrate on my rehab, my home life, because there's been quite a lot going on. So we decided to park that for now. And once I start running, which I'm hoping on this Thursday, I'll start running and string together a few sessions, hopefully, and see how the body feels. And I'm sure talks will start to go from there about where the club's at, where the list's at, where they see me, how I fit, if I fit, all of those conversations, like they have every year. I think we've got 8 or 9 uncontracted players. So there's a bit to work through, which they will post it by.
Have you got the appetite to keep on going, whether it's at West Coast or potentially with another club?
I still think I've got more to give to the game, mate. I think the question mark is going to be how my body can hold up doing it. That'll be the ultimate question, and I think that's probably the reason why we're going to just wait a little bit longer to see how we go and how my body copes coming off a 12-month injury.
With all those other injuries, do you feel like your body would be good if you were given that chance to go on, given time heals all wounds, as they say?
Yeah, mate, we've got some really good docs and some great physios, as you'd know. You've got sort of the best in the country when it comes to that. Albeit AFL footy demands a lot of your body, as you'd know. You've done an ACL, what, you were 29?
27, 28. 28, I think it was, 2008. I came back for another year or two.
Yeah, and how'd you play that year after? You all right? Good.
The year after it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
And then the following year got moved out of the midfield, went to the forward line and kicked a few goals, but that was it for me. They moved in a different direction.
Yeah, there you go. My knee feels really good at the moment. So it's it's a bit of a waiting game, and it's been battered over the years, but that's the nature of the game, and we'll see if my body can hold up, mate.
If you do have some questions for Dom, send them through. We've had Tucky from Riverton say both wear number 4. There you have it.
Nice.
It's not an accolade, but It has been terrific to see that number in use. Of course, Sean Darcy and Dom Sheed currently from our 2 teams here as well. Tucky also says, first of all, thank you for my fishing pliers prize from Klein Tools. Much appreciated. Watching a lot of West Coast games this year, it appears that the work in progress for the young players is the ability to read the game and connection with defence, midfield and attack with the new game plan. Have you been surprised that the DNA's come through pretty quickly after the first 5 or 6? There was a bit of toing and froing, some senior players thrown out of the boat, but they're back in. But the DNA's been pretty strong recently. Yeah,
it has. And I think it's been building, since the start of pre-season. It's hard because you do a pre-season November, December, Jan, Feb, and you think you're going really well, and you never quite know where you sit in comparison to the competition with what you've been training and how it's going to hold up. And, we probably didn't handle that too well, but we've sort of changed a couple little things here and there, but the core of our DNA and what we're going after hasn't changed. And I think Mini bringing in that consistency has really helped the boys, and we're starting to see glimpses of playing really good footy now. So albeit we've only got the 1 win on the board, I feel like we could have very easily had 3 or 4 and would be feeling a lot different about this season. But, regardless of win and loss record, we are seeing improvement in the boys, which is really good.
What about the differences from Adam Simpson? You've played your career under Adam Simpson, of course, very successful premiership coach, but a new coach. I think we all admit it was probably the right time for change. What have you noticed as the key differences between the two?
Yeah, it's I haven't actually played under Mini yet, but I know that Mini being, a first-time coach he's very much a relationship man, and, if you were a first-time coach, you would be, right? And he's very process-driven in terms of reviewing the same things and going after exactly your role and what that is. And if you play it, you'll play. If you don't, you'll be out. And I really love that. about him. So he's consistent, he's a good bloke, and Simo was the exact same. But we just got to, he had been there for 10, 11, 12 years, and he was unbelievable. There was probably a time where, we've got a young group that needs to grow with a new head coach. And just like Simo did when he come in 2014, we had quite a young side that Simo ended up growing with and winning a flag with. So hopefully Mini can do the same. I see a lot of similarities in them early days of the club.
Was there a moment or a year where you looked at your list and thought, oh, hang on, we might be in a bit of trouble? I know when you're part of a footy club, you always believe that you can keep on winning. You always have so much confidence in what you're doing and your teammates. But was there a time where you thought, hang on, we just don't have the younger guys coming through at the moment?
Yeah, the last few years have been hard. I wouldn't say that we've necessarily lacked the talent. We've had big injury lists and, maybe blokes weren't playing in preferred roles, whatever it was. I think we've got the talent there. I really do. I was looking a bit slim there for a little bit. You would think so, Hase. Is that what you're saying? But we always believe we had the talent. But yeah, belief and evidence are they're two very funny things, because you can believe you're going to go out and win every game, but the evidence hasn't necessarily been there. But the belief, what comes first, winning and then the belief, or belief then evidence? So it's a tough one, and as a football club, I think we're on the right path to actually get ourselves out of this hole that we've potentially been in the last few years, and onwards and upwards. But we've got a long, long way to go as a playing group, and we've got so much more growth ahead of us, and it's exciting. It really is, mate.
Can coaches still give sprays? And out of the two, who would give the best spray? Because I imagine at quarter time, Minnie was pretty keen to get on the front foot.
Yeah, I wasn't obviously on the ground hearing it, but his interview after he didn't seem happy. But mate, when you go negative 20 in the first quarter, it's we're just not going to win games of footy like that, and you can't even coach for it. When you lose contested possessions by 20 in one quarter, you just can't do anything as a coach even to help. It's just, I would have loved to have heard it, mate, but he's a very sort of softly spoken sort of dude. But
Could Simo give a good one?
Yeah, he'd have his couple times a year, like most coaches. You can't just yell and scream at everyone all the time, or you're just not going to get a response. So you've got to pick your moments on when it really matters to have its biggest impact. And Minnie hasn't given one of those yet. I don't know if he's a coach that doesn't, or he will, but he is very firm. And what's great about Minnie is he'll do it off the back of he'll give you clarity about going forward and how he can actually help you and to play your role and be the best you can be. So yeah, we'll find out soon, mate.
How challenging was it for a few of those senior players? You'd be pretty close with a few of them, Tim Kelly, Tom Cole. They all sort of found themselves out of the team at one point, and Liam Duggan was challenged, Oscar was challenged. How did you see that time, and how do you think they responded?
Yeah, I think it's good. New coach, that's expected. Come in and find your best 22, and the way Minnie thinks, is different to Simo, and the way he coaches. So, I really liked it. I think it's good. I think it energises people to want to be better and don't ever be comfortable in your role. And, that happened this year. And I think Minnie's probably still, juggling a little bit with what is the best 22, as you would. But I think the playing group has really bought into it. So, when TK, as a senior player, we know how good he is. He just, needed to go back and play some footy at waffle level, and he took it in his stride and found himself back in the team and embraced a new role on the half forward. And Tom Cole doing the same. He just needed to get some games under his belt at waffle, and he's been playing some really good footy. So when he gets back from his hammy now, I suspect Coley would stay in the team the rest of the year. He's been playing really well, but it's good the senior blokes really getting challenged, because these younger blokes are starting to knock on the door. You look at the debutant on the weekend. Look at Tom, mate. He comes and plays.
Did you see that coming?
Really well
from the little bit that you met him and saw him train?
I wouldn't say I necessarily saw it coming. I hadn't seen him play a lot of footy, so I didn't necessarily know how he played or went about it. But yeah, you having Elijah Hewitt, Ruben, Harley, him. It's Diwa had a really good game on the weekend. So you're having this next wave of younger players really pushing and playing really good footy. Our best sort of 3, 4, 5 plays on the weekend would have been younger blokes. So that's really good in saying that, the senior players, we can help a lot more and stand up on field for sure.
When I watched your career, I admired your football smarts. You're a bit like me. We probably got it in common. We didn't move the quickest around the field, but we were quick with our thinking. How do you think you would respond to being a part of this team and the new style with McQualter, where it seems to be pretty instinctive football?
Yeah, I often think that. I haven't had a chance to. So, I think there would be a role there for sure. But, at the moment, I've been 20 weeks off legs, Hase, so I haven't even thought about if I can keep up at the moment. So we'll find out. But it is definitely a game style that I do see holding up, late in September, hopefully one day in the future. But, it's a good brand. It's an exciting brand. And whether I can keep up, mate, or not, I don't know. I don't know.
What's the activity that you hate the most in rehab? For me, it used to be the grinder. You'd sit down and you're off feet and you just obviously put your arms around, just continue.
Yeah, we've got this rehab room. It's almost it's on sort of the second story and it gets quite lonely up there. So pretty much any machine, the rower, the ski erg, you got all at the bike, you got them all there. And it's a pretty lonely place when you're walking up those stairs on your own, mate, about to do 40 minutes of it. But it gets you feeling good, keeps you fit, so you can't complain at all.
Hey, tell your mates you'll meet them at the Sporting Globe to watch State of Origin. We will be there tomorrow, Sporting Globe in Belmont. So if you are around, come and take a look at our show and get involved with the show. If you want to get involved today, you can join in any time on the text machine, 0487 736 736, or give us a call, the open line, 13 12 55. And if you do that, you could win a double pass to the Dolphins and the Knights at HBF Park this Saturday, thanks to Venues West. Get involved, Paul Hasleby and Dom Sheed. If you do have a question or you want to call in, do that. You can win a double pass to the Dolphins and the Knights at HBF Park this Saturday, thanks to Venues West. And Mitchell's texted in and said, aside from Duggan and also Alan, who does Dom see as other young leaders coming to the front, shaping as leaders for the future at the football club?
Look, I think that's a good question, but those two are leading really well at the moment. I think Liam Baker, he's great. I think Tom Cole as well. I think he's got a lot of footy left in him and the boys love him. He does everything right, gets a game.
He's the big team man, isn't he? Like he's got the ability, and I've heard Simo talk about him, to try and cover not just his bloke.
Yeah, and he's massive for us and for our culture as well. He just loves the boys. He's a massive team man, will play his role week in, week out, doesn't complain, trains hard, exactly what you want in a leader at your club. So, yeah, I think Coley and Liam Baker, they're probably the two which stand out to me. But even when it comes to some of the younger blokes, you've got blokes like Bowie Allen. They've got, they're good young men and they've still got a lot of developing to do in that space. But you see little glimpses of sort of Archer Reid and these types who will grow into leadership roles for sure.
Do you think having Baker and Jack Graham come across, knowing the philosophy that's been successful with McQualter and the Richmond Football Club, has helped on field trying to deliver that quicker?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it helped a lot in the pre-season when Mini first rolled out the way we want to play, to be able to go day one pre-season, to be able to actually have on-field leadership in that sense to drive it and help, I think made a massive difference. And then obviously translating to on game day. But, it's sort of they know how to do it. They've played it for a long time. So they've been massive in trying to help in that sense.
Everybody wants to talk about Harley Reid, so we're going to talk about Harley Reid. And you would have seen players come and go from your football club. Do you get the sense that he's becoming more comfortable at the club and his future long-term could be at West Coast?
Yeah, I think so. I'm optimistic about it. I don't necessarily chat to Harley about it. That's something that he needs to internally decide, and I think he's doing the right thing by, waiting to try and make the right decision for himself as a young kid. But he's really focused on just playing good footy at the moment. But the more and more he's here and at our club, you see him enjoying himself more and more as well. So he had a good game on the weekend. He's got, lots of mates at the club that he hangs out with. So I'm optimistic he stays, mate. What do you think?
I think he'll stay this year. I think, geez, it's just hard next year, isn't it? Like, there's going to be 10 clubs from Victoria throwing everything at him, and I think players get a choice now where they get to play if they want to be closer to their family. The positive is he's a country boy like ourselves, that going back to the Melbourne clubs is not going to instantly make him closer with his family. But I think how West Coast go will play a part in that. And we've both been young players. When you do build that connection with your mates and that becomes your life, there is every chance. And I saw it with Matthew Pavlich that it was the same thing all the way through his career, but it was the on-field growth that I think in the end had him believing that this was the place for him.
Yeah, and we hope that's the case with Harley. As a good country boy as well, Perth's the best place to play AFL footy. Mate. If you're from the country, you're on the other side of Australia and it's nice and quiet here, but, he's playing for such a good club in West Coast and he can be a massive part in our success going forward.
What would you give to be 21 again and be offered some of these contracts that we're seeing at the moment? 9 years, the latest one.
Yeah, 21. What sort of money were you on, Hase, at age 21?
21, well, back then it was 80,000. I think it was 3,000 a game.
Yeah.
Maybe close to 250 in my third year.
There you go. I remember talking to Dean Cox. His first year in footy was $7,000.
He was a rookie list pick.
Was his first contract, Dean Cox. So, yeah, times have changed a bit and, it's a credit to the game and AFL for producing a product that's able to pay players so much, mate. But
does it play a part in motivation, Dom? Do you think if somebody is contracted for that long, do you think they can still be fully motivated for that period of time?
I do think so, absolutely. I do think so because you don't have to think about contract stuff. You can just solely focus on football and it almost alleviates that. It can work both ways. It can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on the player. Blokes can get comfortable or others can go, great, that's done. Now I can just focus on footy. So, and I think Harley's very much it'd be good to just focus on footy. That's where I sort of see him sitting. But, we'll see how all that goes. But everyone's different, I think, mate.
Everyone's motivated differently. Now, we were both very lucky that we got to stay in our home state. Do you ever think about what it might have been like for you if you got drafted elsewhere and whether you would have you would have stayed at that club, or do you think you would have tried to come home?
I was sort of I was ready to go to over east if it would have happened. So I was prepared for that, mate. I moved from Kalgoorlie to Perth at age 15, so I sort of already did a move. So I felt like I would have been fairly well equipped to be able to do that. But yeah, in saying that, I think I would have ended up back here at some point.
A couple of good questions coming through. Mike says the important question: have you had to buy a beer since that goal? Now, is this genuine? How many times have you been offered to have a beer from a West Coast supporter?
Mate, a lot. So to all the listeners out there, keep it up.
You'll milk that forever today, won't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? But it's died off a little bit though, mate. It's died off a little bit. I'm not quite the flavour of the month, some would say.
Tony says, ask Dom which young player he would like to take the famous number 4 after him. Is there a young player that has a high number at the moment that would like to get into what we call, the best row at the footy club?
Yeah.
Millionaires row.
Geez, yeah, what? Hollywood Boulevard, they reckon. But, nothing springs to mind at the moment, mate. But I'll start, when and if the time comes, I'll start to do a bit of asking around, mate.
Dom's voice sounds exactly like Minnie's. That's Frank in Yangebup. Have you heard that before?
Minnie's? Oh, I've never heard of that. My voice actually changed because Elijah Hewitt fractured it a couple of years ago.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's never been the same since. So it's a bit croaky. My wife seems to like it. I think it's annoying, but no, it's a
good voice for radio.
No, I've never heard that, but thanks.
Hey, what do the boys get up to over their bye? Do they get a few days off? Do they get to go? Are you allowed to go away interstate, overseas?
Yep. Yeah, there's a few blokes that went back home, a few blokes went down south or up north, and, Minnie really told the boys, enjoy your break. Like, the boys, have put in a mountain of work so far this year, and it's been massive, and the boys need a, well-deserved break, albeit only the one win. It's not through not working hard. So they'll decompress, do what you want, but come back on Friday and be ready to train, because we've got to continue to get better, and we can't just be happy with the first half of the year. We want more wins in the back half and to see some more growth in the playing group.
How many can you get in the back half of the season?
Oh, geez, I don't know, mate. I'm not going to put a number on it, but it's probably more so wanting to see the boys grow in the areas which we're trying to grow in. Win, lose or draw, wins would be absolutely great, but we want to see progress, I think.
In this town, you can't avoid the other team up the road, Fremantle. What have you made of their season so far, and do you think they can be a contender this year?
Yeah, the way they're playing the last 4 weeks, Hase, absolutely. So they're doing really well. They've turned it around. I think they had 2 good wins on the road against Gold Coast and Giants, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, 2 great wins and then another 2 wins at home. So they've got a lot of momentum heading into the back half of the year, which is good. They'll be, once again, building that belief that they can win, and they've got the evidence off the back of 4 wins in a row. So, yeah, I was a bit worried for them early on in the year, Hase, were you? But I think
I was a bit worried, absolutely.
Yeah.
But a couple of away wins, as you mentioned, changed everything.
What do you think they changed?
I think they got back to their own DNA, which I think originally was built on their pressure and their defence. So I think once they got that right, then their offence built off that. They've been a bit quicker. They've been happy to kick the ball a bit longer, a bit more direct. And then pretty similar with at West Coast, win that footy, win the one-on-one, and then you can get the fast handball game going ahead of the footy.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about how their ball movement was quite slow. Is that right in saying that? And yeah, maybe on the eye did look a little bit slow, but ball movement is often off the back of team defence.
Yeah.
So the speed of your ball movement, if you're turning the ball over in your back pocket, it's very hard to play with speed from there. If you can turn it over in the middle of the ground, it's such a bigger field. You can get more speed off it, and then your ball movement all of a sudden does click into gear and look better. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they've worked on, but they definitely look like a much more solid side now.
Fremantle take on Essendon Thursday night. They both are coming off 5-day breaks. You've probably been through that yourself as a player. Do you notice it, and is it a big factor in the game?
Not necessarily. If you haven't copped any major knocks or injuries, then you can get up for 5 days. The COVID year, it was really hard to back it up week in, week out, 5 days, 4 days, albeit shorter quarters. It is a short break. You wouldn't want much shorter than that, but when you're coming off a loss, sometimes it's good to move on quickly with the week and play again in 5 days.
But you will do a training session 3 days later, wouldn't you, where you do play a lot of match practice. You might not be 100%, but the turnaround can be pretty quick. Yeah,
it can be. And like I said, we've got amazing facilities. We've got everything there to be able to give us an opportunity of backing it up. But ideally, you don't have 5 day breaks like that, but, one or 2 a year is fine, I think, mate.
Just going back to your draft night, did you expect to end up at West Coast, or did you know prior to the draft that you were going to be at West Coast?
I knew that I would get to West Coast pick. That's for sure. Yeah. People were saying because I was Lark medalist that I wouldn't, but I was always fairly confident. Looking at the players who were ahead of me in the draft, I knew that I'd get through. Whether West Coast had something, whether a Bontempelli slipped through or whatever, I knew they were probably my best bet, which I was stoked about as well. I was a West Coast fan growing up, mate, so I was stoked about it. Got to go over there on draft night, which was cool as well. But, yeah, it would have been a very different story for me hadn't I landed at West Coast, I think.
I was a West Coast fan growing up too, and they overlooked me when I was a 17-year-old. It was between me and Andrew Embley, and they just couldn't split us. And I think Mick Malthouse said to the recruiter, they asked him, who do you like? And he goes, we'll go with Embers because he's taller.
Oh, there you go.
So there you have it. Could be a premiership player with yourself.
Mate, there you go.
Not in the same team, of course. What about that draft? Was it a good draft?
Mate, it was a very good draft. Yeah, I think we had Josh Kelly, Bontempelli, Zach Merritt was in there, Sicily, Tom Brass.
My producer tells me that 6 of the top 12 are no longer in the league. So Boyd, Billings. I think Billings is still.
Is he still there?
I think he's still sure. With a club.
Yeah.
Cade Kolajasny, Scharenberg, Luke McDonald, Salem, Freeman. I'm not sure. I think my producer might have it wrong on this occasion. One more before we take a break. Chucky says, Elliot Yeo, when do you think he'll be back to play?
Oh, hopefully after the bye he has a good block of training and can get back. I'm not sure exactly his time frame, but he'll be a couple of weeks after the bye, I would have thought. It's a bit of a hard one given a return date because one little hiccup and you're pushed back a couple of weeks or whatever. So, he's done that a few times, Yoey, with his injuries over the years, to no fault of his own, but these things can happen. So we'll, hopefully after the bye, a few weeks after then, he can build some momentum.
Tell your mates you'll meet them at the Sporting Globe to watch State of Origin. And if you want to get involved today, you can win a double pass to the Dolphins and the Knights at HBF Park this Saturday, thanks to Venues West. Paul Hasleby and Dom Sheed today, and West Coast can confirm that their co-captain Oscar Allen will be sidelined for the medium term after scans confirm damage to his left calf and minor damage to his Achilles. Surgery not required. Down at Fremantle, Alex Pearce will miss again. Justin Longmuir stating that Nathan Fyfe playing as a super sub long term might not be sustainable. What do you think, Dom? Do you think this week, Thursday night, short break, but of course he only played a quarter and a half. Do you think they'll play him a full game? And is it important for him to play a full game?
I think he'll play a full game, and I think it is important as well. They would have known that it's a short break. 6 days, 5-day break for him, was it? So they would have known this coming into it. So maybe they've planned to have him sub twice and have him play more footy when the other boys have a shorter break. But, yeah, you're not leaving a 2-time Brownlow medalist out for too long, I wouldn't have thought. But it'll be interesting to see him. I'm excited to watch him again. I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen Nat Fyfe play footy.
And he looked pretty fresh too on the weekend, coming on when everyone was a bit tired and they were all wet and soaked. He actually looked like he was moving pretty well. Michael Walters and Jager O'Meara joined in training today, so they could be a chance to return via the Waffle this weekend. What about the best player, Dom, that you've played with across your career?
The best one that I played with, I get asked this a bit, and I feel like I've played with some good players. I've been very fortunate, but I think watching Nick Nat up close, I got Nick in his prime. I got sort of Coxie on the very back end of his career. So to be able to sit under Nick's ruck taps and watch Shuey rove the ball to him, that was pretty special to see. JK was always good. I like playing with JK. He makes my bad kicks look good. And then Nick puts the ball,
Talk us through the ruck craft, because I love the ruck craft and the ability for a player to almost catch the ball. So they catch it, then they push it with a little bit of air on it, where you have the other, what I call slapper ruckman, where they just slap the ball straight down, and it's hard for the midfielders to read it off the hands.
Yeah, we've had a few ruckmen that have just hit bricks over the years.
Few slappers?
Yeah, Nick described his as snowflakes, the way he'd tap him, and he wasn't wrong. So I was fortunate enough to play with him. So I'd go JK, then I'd go Nick, then I'd go definitely Gov. Watching him, he's an outstanding player, Gov.
How's Gov going?
Yeah, I think he's doing all right, mate. He obviously had the panel a few days ago, and I actually haven't spoken to him since. I dropped him a line, but I have no idea how it went, but hopefully it went okay, mate. But we'll wait and see. Who's the best player you played with?
Matthew Pavlich was the best. I spent 1 year with Nathan Fyfe. Of course, at that stage he wasn't Nathan Fyfe, but Peter Val, the other one, for consistency, like his work rate was phenomenal, and every single week he played really well. What about the toughest? Would McGovern be the toughest player you played with? Yeah,
I think so. I think Gov and TB, watching both of them too, the way they attack the footy, that it's pretty special. But I think most players in the AFL are pretty tough these days, mate. But I've been very fortunate over the years to have such a long list of great players that I've played alongside. Matt Prittis, Brownlow medalist, didn't even played again with him all year in his Brownlow year.
Who was faster over 100 metres, you or Matty Prittis?
Depends, mate. It depends. Tell you what, he'd probably have me now.
If we had a race,
I'd probably
I was
have me
faster
now.
than Pritter because I tagged him a couple of times.
Yeah, really? You're faster
But
than
he
him?
could run all day, which I couldn't.
Yeah, you'd expose him. But, mate, I reckon Pritter would just about do both of us now. He's always running up and down West Coast Highway and stays really fit.
I had a hip replacement, so he's probably just got me, I reckon.
Just got you reckon? I don't know. You're in good nick, mate.
Trying to lose a bit of weight. Hey, what about the umpiring? We've got Dean Margetts coming up at the moment. The state of the game and how difficult it's been for some of the players to adjust to interpretation changes this year.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a couple in particular, hasn't there, like the rule changes and that, but consistency, I think, is the only thing that the players really want. They, knowing the rules and then umpires being consistent with them. It seems as though the 15-metre kick as well has sort of, they've really come down on that. But, yeah, they're changing, they're evolving. We've dealt with this for many years now and we just got to get on with it. But, yeah, I think the state of the game, I think it's in a fairly good spot. The AFL's trying to do the right thing and protect heads, but it can be frustrating at times, I'm sure, for the fans that watch on the TV and see players ruled out for weeks and weeks for things that, wouldn't have even been looked at 10 years ago. So it's certainly changing the game and it's evolving. How do you see it at the moment?
I think they need a bit of a reshape. I think Greg Swan coming in, I think they'll spend a fair bit of time on it the remaining part of the year. I don't like the insufficient intent rule. I think it's time just to have last kick out of bounds. So at least it takes the pressure off the umpires. It's consistent. There's no interpretation with that.
That would change the game a lot.
Yeah, but it's getting to that point already, isn't it? Like if you pretty much kick it out now, 7 out of 10, unless there's a player right next to it, are being called insufficient intent.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's a tough one. You can never get that one right necessarily as a player. But, once again, mate, if they're consistent with it, then the players can adapt.
If you could go and get your knee fixed and you could get yourself right to come back in the back half of this season to win another premiership and kick the winning goal, which club would you like to go and play for?
I couldn't play for West Coast.
Well, they're not going to win the premiership this year. I think it's pretty obvious.
Who do I want to play for?
Who do you think's got the best chance from here?
Yeah, look, I really do like Collingwood.
So you want to give them one? You stole one from them with your kick. You want to give them one back? Is that what you're saying?
One, you reckon? No, I think they're the best chance this year to win again. I think I said on this show a couple of weeks ago, you look at where they are now and their core group of players have played a lot of footy together and they just sort of hit that sweet spot the last couple of years. So, I haven't pictured myself playing for another club, mate. Going to the Gold Coast, being part of their first one would be nice, Hase.
Did you ever have discussions with other clubs about potentially leaving?
Nah, mate, not necessarily. Nothing in depth at all. West Coast were always good to me, which I'm grateful for. So my contracts have been quite a smooth process. But in saying that, Hase, we're not exactly dealing with 1.5 mil a year, are we? So,
do you get confidence looking at the Collingwood players that you would have spent all your career playing against? Pendlebury, Sidebottom, Howe, to name a few, that they're still delivering at the age of 34, 35, 36.
Mate, it is incredible, mate. Like, it's very good to watch. And not only are they still playing, they're performing at a very, very high level. Still Sidebottom. Like, it's just... Are
we too quick to turf players out? In the media, I guess the clubs are very different.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can learn a lot from players like Pendlebury and Sidebottom that, the minute you hit, 27, you're not necessarily old, But, yeah, it seems to be in the AFL, you hit a sort of certain age and they start calling you a veteran in the media, mate, and all of a sudden you're old. And
I'm sure you feel like a veteran around your playing group at the moment, but we've had Big Brian from Barley says give Dom a long-term SEN contract. Hase, the 2 number 4s. He's got the voice and the smart, so really appreciated you coming in, Dom, and we look forward to you coming back in a couple of weeks' time if you still feel comfortable here at SEN.
Thanks for having me. It's been good to be here, and let's go have a 100-metre sprint, mate, you and I.
You've got me now, but I'll get you in 2 years. Don't worry about that. Don't forget you can text or call in for a double pass to the Dolphins or the Knights at HBF Park this Saturday. Thanks to Venues West. On the other side, Dean Margetts, the whistleblower. He'll join us.